stage to be with an audience that was more full of gratitude than I feel coming from you today. And I am blessed to be a part of that energy. Inside your bulletin is a little handout I provided for you. On one side, it tells you about some exciting experiences that I begin this coming week. If those are something that speak to you, I'd love to hear from you. And on the other side are some notes where you can follow along with today's talk and perhaps take these home and remind yourself about how to think from the genius mind. That is our topic this morning. So we move from gratitude to genius. When we are in our humanity, we tend to think from a limited mind. But we are a part of a greater intelligence. And so therefore, we have access to a genius mind. There are many ways for you to tap into that energy. And today I'm going to share with you 3 ways that you can bring that genius energy and intention right into your physical experience. Because really what we're all about is taking this wonderful spiritual energy that we believe so firmly in and transforming that into our physical experience, right? And these 3 keys today are going to help you be able to do that easier and more systematically. We already know that we cannot achieve nor receive anything that we want from a mind that is thinking of the lack of it. And we cannot create what we want if we believe that it is impossible or outside of our experience. And the way that we change that is by changing our thinking. When we change the way we think, we open ourselves to opportunities that we cannot even imagine. So we begin from that place. The best life that we want for ourselves cannot be had with the mind that we have in this moment. The best life that we want for ourselves cannot be had with this mind, because this mind is what created the life we have today, and we are envisioning an even better life. So we need a mind upgrade. We need to go to the next operating system. And I thought it was a perfect opportunity to share these tools with you as you step into the new chapter for your church. Everything that I talk about today, you can apply to your life individually, to your family's life, to your work experience, and to your church's life. So I want you to take good notes. We live in a physical world, and we have conditions in our physical world. And there are things about our lives that we want to change. Actually, probably everyone in this room would like to change something about his or her life experience. And here's what I want you to know. The conditions of your life will not change first. You must change the way you think about those conditions in order for them to change. Now, today's lesson is really a pretty advanced lesson in metaphysics, And some of you have been studying this stuff longer, maybe than I've been alive. And so for some of you, this is going to be easy. But for some of you, this is your very first day in a Unity church. This is your very first time at stepping into mental science philosophy. And if you don't get it all, don't worry about it. Just hang in there. Your presence today says that you are willing and open to begin to think from a broader expanse of the genius that is inside of you. So we begin with the first step. It has been said that the quality of life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. The quality of our lives is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. We really live with a fourfold body system. We have our physical body that we know so well. It captures so much of our attention. It's really difficult for us to move away from what's happening to our physical bodies. And attached to that physical body, we have an emotional body. Oh, let me back up. Our physical body is governed by our five senses, and it's measured in a three-dimensional world. Our emotional body has basically four emotions: mad, glad, sad, and afraid. So there's three dimensions, four emotions, and five senses. And those, that 5 controls pretty much everything that we do. Beyond that, we have a mental body. And our mental body is our consciousness. And our consciousness is made up of everything that we know, our conscious awareness, and everything that we've forgotten that we know, and that is our unconscious awareness. And then all of that is encapsulated in our spiritual body. Because the physical body demands so much of our attention, we think that that's the largest part of us. But the spiritual body is the largest part of us. So think of it as a set of Russian nesting dolls, and your body is really the smallest part. And the spiritual part of you is really the largest part. And Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, taught us that we access that spiritual part of ourselves through the use of our mental faculty. So our mental body is like the window to the infinite. That is why what we think is so important. And we begin with the tool, no, go back. We begin with the tool that the quality of our lives is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. When we go to Spirit in prayer and we ask a question, the energy with which we bring that question influences what we receive as an answer. For example, we can say, how am I ever going to pay my bills at the end of the month? Feel the energy of that? Constricted, closed, fearful? Or we can say, what can I do that will attract more money this month than any other month this year? Does that feel more open and expansive? More room for opportunity? Also notice that the first question that was closed was a how question. The second question was a what question. And we're going to talk more about the hows and the whats in just a little bit, but just remember how those two questions felt differently. I also would like to remind you that there is not a question that you can think of for your life that does not have an answer. There is not a problem in your life for which there is not a solution. So breathe that in and allow yourself to take a little breath and feel some peace. Whatever is going on in your life, a solution exists for whatever that challenge is. And I'm going to help you match that up. So how do we formulate a good question to present to God? At the end of last year, Rick and I, my husband, he recognized, and he shared with me, that he felt the culture and the climate within the company for which he works changing. Earlier last year, I had stepped out of my church that I had pioneered in Delaware, Ohio. And as we did our end-of-year reflection, we began to ask ourselves questions. And the question that we came up with was, what if, there's the what if we no longer needed to be in Ohio? No offense. Where would we want to live? Now, it took us several days to just come up with the question. The question is really important, so you want to work at your question. You want to really get to the root and the meat of what it is that you want in your life. So that became our question. And we held that question in mind for days, actually a couple of weeks, and then we began to work on it. Now, the mind is a funny thing. When we are thinking about what we don't have, the mind is, imagine this is your mind. The mind is closed, is constricted. You can't see the possibilities. You can't see the opportunities. But as we began to ask the question, what if? What if we had completed our time in Ohio? What would it look like? What questions begin to open the mind? So let's practice. Call to your mind something in your life that you would like to change. Some place in your life where you feel closed and constricted. And I'll ask the question, invite you to repeat it after me, and then breathe. Okay? Because we're repatterning. Let's start with just what if. Maybe you don't know what the question is, so just begin. What if? Say that with me. What if? What if this was easy? What if this was easy? And breathe. What if I knew what to do? What if the answers come at the right time? What if I will know what I need to know when I need to know it? What if I open my mind to the genius of God? How does that feel? Pretty cool, huh? It's amazing. So, any time that your mind feels closed and shut, just begin with what if? What if? What if I can work it out? What if I know what to do? What if this is not as bad as it seems? What if it's really easy? What if God is with me every step? And breathe. knowing that power lies in the ability to decide a thing, know it will come to pass, and then act in a way that supports that decision. We have to know what we want. Then we have to decide for it, and then we have to act. So Rick and I created the question, and we began to move into alignment with that question, and we began to create a vision for the next step of our lives. We've lived in Ohio for 10 years, and I really didn't understand the power of the vision, but 2004, when we moved here, I told him I would give him 10 winters. Last year, that blessed winter was my 10th. And you know how much I loved it. So we created a list. We took a big poster board and put it on the wall in our prayer room and placed markers on the table. And at the top we wrote, "Our next home." And we began to make a list of what was important to each of us. I wrote things that were important to me. Rick wrote things that were important to him. There were some rules and guidelines. No condemning, no complaining, no judging. Those are really good rules for any relationship. And as you begin this new chapter in your church's life, I encourage you, no complaining, no criticizing, no gossip, no judging. Everything was a possibility. And we went into that experience with our minds wide open. Did we have any idea when we would want to move? No. Maybe in 2017. That was what we thought when we began this process. Maybe in April of 2017. But our minds were open, and so the ideas of God could flow in, and we felt free to say what we wanted in our next home. We had our vision board. We sat with that for several weeks. In March, we started looking. We had to decide where we wanted to live. If we no longer needed to be in Ohio, where would we want to go? We narrowed it down to Texas or Texas or Georgia. And we landed on Georgia because my husband likes Georgia a whole lot more than I like Texas. And we could find common ground there. We also knew that we did not want to go back to a metropolitan area like Atlanta. That's where we met years ago. So we wanted to be in a rural setting. And I have a sister that lives in the mountains of North Georgia, and she was politicking hard for me to come home. We started looking on the internet, and we would email each other different choices that we found. This home, that home, this land, blah, blah. In April, we went to visit, and we met with a realtor. She had given us, we gave her the top criteria of our new home, and she pulled up 3 possibilities. We drove by all 3 of them, but we only went in one. I had been looking at this one house on the internet for a month. Every night I would go back and read the description. It was a large Cape Cod with skylights instead of dormers. Oh, it's not dark on the inside. And it sits on a sloping hill, but it's not a cliffhanger, because I don't like those. It was private but not remote. And it had a beautiful landscaped yard in the middle of an 8-acre tract. And I thought it sounded like heaven. We drove by that house, and that's the only house that we went inside. We fell in love with it. We offered on it, but the money didn't work. We couldn't make arrangements. So we left. And actually, when I was here with you at Easter, we were on our way home from that visit. We just blessed it and left. When we got home, I took the MLS listing, I put it on the vision board, and I wrote this or something better. That's a key component to your visioning. Because right now, where you are on your journey, this is the best you can see. But there may be so much more out there for you if you'll just give it a chance to come through the open mind. In June, we went back to Georgia. We didn't call the realtor. We didn't go to the White House. We didn't even drive by. We tried to not talk about it. And we were miserable. Our vacation was supposed to be joyful, and we were. My sister was so worried. On the next to the last day before we left, I said, well, first of all, what do you think happened to us? What do you think happened in the process? Yes, we became closed. And why did we become closed? We couldn't see the process. We were in lack. We were in fear. Remember, we visioned this would happen in 2017, and it was starting to happen now. So we closed down the possibilities, and we couldn't think with an open, genius mind. At one point, Rick and I were really snippy with each other. And I was able to come up with a what question. And I said, what's wrong? Just a little space. And then we realized we were unhappy because if what we said we wanted was on that list, we were denying our vision. We had shut down to what we had told God we wanted. So then Rick said, well, let's just drive by and see how we feel. And as we drove up the driveway, we knew that that home was waiting for us. At this time, it had been on the market for 14 months. It was waiting for someone to come and love it. So we asked another question, what do we do now? And we stayed in that open space. We prayed about it for the next 24 hours. We made another offer, did a little negotiation, and on August 4th, the White House on the Hill became ours. We had to decide what we wanted. We had to get into alignment with that. We had to know that it could happen. And then we had to act. Those are important elements to allowing the creative genius inside of you to come out. Now, all of this took a gestation period. We began visioning in December, and the house came to fruition in August. I stood here on this stage on Groundhog Day when it was announced by your board that you were ready to begin your ministerial search. And here in October, your minister will show up. This is an important part. Don't wait until you're desperate for something new in your life. Allow yourself a gestation period for your dreams and your visions to come forth. And allow Reverend Michael the opportunity to have a gestation period to bring this church to its new level of success and ministry. The next point, the next key, is to stay in alignment with your vision. Often your circumstances are going to throw you off balance. And they're going to make you think that you should abandon course. I know you all know what that is. There are times that Rick and I get scared and we slow down the process. Remember, we intended to move in 2017. And now we are moving in 2014. And sometimes when we get scared and closed, the whole process stops and we feel like we're stuck in the mud. But as soon as we can begin to open our minds and know that God is with us and God has brought us this far, we don't have to worry and be concerned. Because the next step will show itself when we need to make that step. So here is a 5-step process to help you to get into alignment with your genius. And you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Even if you heard it for the very first time today, you know this. God is. God is. There is one power and one presence active in this universe and in my life, and we lovingly call it God. And we lovingly call it good. This is the foundational principle of unity. And actually, I believe that if you can get this principle and practice it every day in your life, you don't even need any more principles. Because it all comes down to whatever is happening in your life in this moment is God. So think of a vertical axis. This is spiritual experience. Now, we believe that we are not separate from God, but our minds think we're separate, so a lot of times it's helpful to have a separate analogy to help us ingrain it deeper. So this is God. This is spiritual experience, a vertical axis. Your humanity is a horizontal axis. And that humanity moves up and down that vertical axis depending upon how open your mind is. And at the point where the two intersect is this moment. This moment. This is the only moment that you can experience God. You can't experience God in the past. You can't experience God in the future. But you experience God in this moment when your humanity has awareness of your spiritual nature. So God is I am. I am a part of that. And the truth is, your physical conditions are going to try to tell you they are the truth about your life. Your bank account, your diagnosis, your fight with your partner, the condition of the world, fighting in another country, or fighting in the streets of your city. All of these things will try to tell you that that's the truth. But that is not the truth. And that's why you come here on Sunday morning to be reminded that there's a truth that is greater than your conditions and greater than your circumstances. And I release attachment to the outcome. I release belief that my conditions have power over me. I release knowing what the next step needs to be. I release knowing how it all has to work out before I take a step. And the flip side to releasing is gratitude. And you guys certainly did a whole bunch of that this morning. Those two go hand in hand. I release my control and I give gratitude and open my heart to more goodness than I can even imagine. Those 5 steps, if you practice them on a regular basis, will lead your life places that will take your breath away. They will lead you to white houses on the hill 3 years before you thought it was possible. They will lead you to new ministry, to new vitality, to new help, new connection, new love, new purpose. So let's practice. Billy? Let's move into the sacred space and just allow the energy of this day and this message to percolate through an open mind deep into your consciousness and help you to be more aware of the genius that is you. God is infinite intelligence. We would not argue that point. And God is the creator of all things that we know and all things that we don't know. We are created in the image and the likeness of that intelligence, and so therefore that intelligence is a part of who we are. And it is at this very moment where we experience access to that intelligence. As we breathe, affirm quietly to yourself, God is. God is the entire purpose of my life. God is all that's good. God is the only power and presence and energy. And all things are some variation of this energy. And I am a part of all of the wonderful things that I believe that God is. I am not separate from, but I am immersed in it. And the energy of God is flowing through me now as water flows through the gills of a fish. I am swimming in the infiniteness of God. And the truth about my life is that when I am connected to this infinite presence, everything works out for me. And I release all worry and concern. I release all judgment and condemnation and criticism. And I move my heart into a place of gratitude. And I know that all the experiences of my life and all the experiences of this church have brought us to this place right here, right now. So that I can have a heightened awareness of the power of God in my life. And the power of God in this church. Take a moment to just breathe all that in and allow it to be your truth. And we give thanks. If there was ever a time for us to lift our voices in song and celebrate the presence that abides within and around and through each of us, it is now. And so it is, and so we allow it to be.
Can you bring Mark up to the platform?
Thank you. Well, part of We've said thank you to a lot of people today, but the last person we have to say thank you to is you. We've been so blessed this month to have so many good, top quality speakers who have blessed us so much over the past few months and over the past few years. Reverend Robin has been a crowd favorite ever since she's been here. People say, can you bring her back? Can she be our minister? And she got that inquiry more than once. But we want to appreciate the energy that you bring to us. And as a thank you gift, we have a small gift for you. And we'd like to have you go ahead and open that, if you would. You'll find that it's very easy to open. It's lightly taped on, so it'll fall apart pretty quickly. It's our way of saying thank you to the people who have prepared for us, who have given high-quality lessons, who have tried so hard to provide us with a great experience.
It's beautiful. Oh, I'm so honored. It says, with sincere appreciation, Unity New Thought Central 2014.
And by the way, as you walk out this evening, or this morning, you might stop by the sound booth and say happy birthday to Peggy.